when I realized how important those cues were, was I got recruited to work at another college campus. Higher education is a very small world, and so it swirls, right? People find out your work, and then they ask you to be other places, or um, people come into new places and they don't like your work, and then you move on. So it's very political in a very small world. And I got recruited for another campus, and I went into the interview, and again put on the cost, what I would call a costume. Like I'm not a suit girl. I've never been a suit girl, so I wear the suit, put on heels, same heels I used to teach in. They were my favorite. They were an Italian leather, and they were like butter, and they were the most comfortable ones I could find, but they were also super stylish and really cute. So wore them in, had my interview, had a few questions from the committee, which were fine. They were fine questions. They were the questions you expect them to ask you in that type of an interview. And as I walked away, I felt nauseous. I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be on this merry-go-round. I don't want to be dean. I don't want to be president. I don't want to do those things. And as I walked out, I went to the bathroom to kind of collect myself, because I was having this realization of, oh my God, it's not just the clothes, it's everything. It's like all of this, it's not my path, not for me. This is not what I should be doing. And went into the bathroom, and I had in my purse, I had a pair of flip-flops, because I was meeting one of my besties after that, I think for a garden show or something super, like, really, that does reflect me. And I put my flip-flops on, and I took off those shoes, which really represented my career, because they were the shoes I put on, my dean shoes. And as I was leaving that campus, I threw them away. So I had them resold like 5 times. Um, I hope whoever took the garbage out that day, if they were a size 6, I hope they just know they won the jackpot, because they were really good shoes. But they weren't my shoes anymore. They weren't me. It was like they weren't me. And as I threw them away, I just felt like all of this burden was lifted. And then I realized this is not who I truly am. I mean, maybe it was for some time, and I think there were years where I was working higher ed, that I was just in my lane, in my zone. Especially when I was in the capacity that I am now as a coach. Um, but I wore those shoes out, and it was time to get rid of them. So the minute I threw them away, I just felt like so much relief. And I think that was the beginning of my realization. So again, a bunch of little things, but symbolically, then when I threw them away, I felt like I was like really kind of coming into myself. So really, it's like going to work in someone else's pants every day. If you're feeling like that, if you're feeling like that in any part of your life, that's like your little inner voice. Those are those little things that are happening, that we have been somehow either taught, or programmed, or just grown into pushing down and ignoring and not listening to them anymore. Like for me, to education was huge, for some very important people in my life. My grandmother, especially, she was the matriarch of our family. Education was very important to her, and my mom, and the people I admire the most. Education was important. And so then when I did go to work at a college that was Catholic affiliated, and it was pretty swanky if you got on there, to stray from that was a big deal. And so I had been taught my whole life, rightly so, about how important education was, and then it became my identity, right? um, and it served me very well for a very long time. But then it was time to maybe stop that, and do something else. And so that's what I'm doing now. But I just wanted to give that as an example, that one, while I talk about these things, and hope to help people out there, or help my clientele, to come to realizations and grow from them, I too have experienced them. So I just want you to know that's one of my favorite parts about connecting with people, is a lot of times I can identify with it, and that's why I'm choosing the topics that I am. So one, this isn't me preaching at you. This is me bringing you in with love and saying, I've been there, I get it. But also, if I could say to my younger self, don't snuff out that voice, listen to her. Like, never think it's silly or small or whatever. Really take some time to be mindful and think about, as your day goes on, man, what does it mean that I hate all of my clothes? Does that mean that I need a new wardrobe, or does that mean I need a new something else? Because if it means you need a new something else, then go ahead and do that something else. Um, which brings us to comfort zone. So if you are listening to it, you're being mindful, you're listening to your voice, and you come to that realization of, oh my God, even you wake up one morning, you're like, how did I get here? I'm not living as healthy as I wanted to, or I'm in a career I didn't want, or I'm in a relationship that I don't know how I got here. Like, this is not what I wanted when I was younger. Is it an outcome of growth that you've grown into these things and that's why you're in these places, or is it just you don't even know because you've lost being mindful and you don't know how you got there, and you need to be mindful now. So get in touch with that. Get in touch with those voices inside you that kind of like nudge you in certain places, because just because something makes sense or was logical at one point in time, maybe it doesn't anymore. So listen, be mindful of what's going on. And then the other thing that comes to is we don't listen to that voice, but the other thing is the comfort zone piece, right? Sometimes we know, sometimes we are being tortured a lot in a lot of different ways, and you just don't know how to navigate the change because it is what you are currently in is what you've known forever. And so pushing outside that comfort zone, and it can be hard. So closing the loop, going back to the blog, the three things that I put on there were three tips to stop avoiding change because that comfort zone piece is hard, and I think it helps with those. And two of the tips that I put on there were to start change a little bit at a time, like figure out what you. I mean, if you can't take the whole thing on, because when I had my dean realization, I didn't walk in and quit the next day, right? I also had a lot of life stuff that had happened to me with my pregnancy and that kind of stuff, but it's a process. And so if it is your career, for example, because that's the kind of theme we're going with today, what can you do that's small and manageable? I mean, it doesn't mean you walk in, give it away, throw it away, like throwing away the shoes doesn't mean throwing away everything the next day. What can you do that's manageable? Can you research other things? Can you just be reflective? Can you go for a weekend and really think about where you want to be, or what do you love and where are your passions? And are you doing that every day? And if not, even just make that list. That's a great first small step. What do I love and what do I do in my daily life? Do they match at all? And if they don't, it might be a good time to kind of really look at it. So little changes so that you know that if you do eat the elephant one bite at a time, it's okay. But then also making little manageable changes in your life so that you know if you make a change, life is not going to end. And I think I gave the example in the blog of just trying somewhere else to shop. Even when I moved, when my husband and I built, we moved 15 minutes down the store, but that meant, or down the street, but that meant all my stores changed and everything. And that even that kind of change can be challenging because you don't know a new store and that. So do little changes in your life so that you can build up that muscle, right? And then the third thing that I gave was get a coach. And this is not because I'm a coach. I fully believe in coaching, and of course would always support it from a coach. But it's not necessarily from a business stance of a coach. I love new clients because they're almost like a new puzzle for me to work. And I absolutely love kind of figuring it out with them. But this is also coming from someone who uses coaching and knows that how helpful that can be, because if you're in your comfort zone, that person can kind of figure out what is your threshold for change, and then also start small, like what is manageable this week. But then also you share your goals with someone and you get accountability in them, and set goals, and you do it on an ongoing thing. So it's easier to tackle change when you have a buddy with you. And so those are my just kind of tidbits that are in the blog. So again, go and read it. It's in writing if you want. But I also just wanted to give more detail about what I was talking about that voice that kind of knocks at you, so that you can start listening to your own in your mindfulness practice this week of as you go through being mindful of what's going on in your heart and your mind. Okay, have a great week, Bloom Tribe. I hope everybody is well out there and enjoying the sun coming back into your life.